and welcome to episode 11 of the Sheffield Hopcast. My name's Adam, and we're here today at the Lescar. And as usual, we're with our esteemed colleagues, Sean.
Well, we're missing one esteemed colleague.
I'm going to come to that.
Are you going to explain that?
He's let us down.
Good evening, Adam. It's nice to see you with a smile on your face eventually.
Yeah, well, I'm hosting today. James is off doing something with his other friends. So, Sean, start beer of the month.
Beer of the month. As always, I like to pick out, or not deliberately, but I feel as if I've got to now. I've fallen into the trap. So I'm going to pick out a beer from a recent trip to Belgium. And it was my last beer of our night in Bruges. So my memories are quite hazy. But the beer is from De Stroos in Belgium. They have a famous beer called Black Albert, which they use sort of variants of Black Albert for different types of beers. And the one I had and absolutely adored was Cuvée Delphine, which is a bourbon barrel-aged version of Black Albert, and phenomenal. I'm not a massive fan of bourbon and bourbon barrel aging, but it was the last night of a long day in Bruges, and so by the time I got to that particular beer, I got over my bourbon problems, and I was ready just for a big stout to smash me to sleep at the end of the night. So beautiful.
So, Sean, you did me a favour while you were in Bruges. Did I? You did, yeah.
I didn't bring anything back.
No, but I asked you to take a particular photo.
I did indeed, yeah. So that's pathetic. I don't normally bow to pressure.
So
what's
the bar called? Is it like
Estaminet de Gare? Well, that's how you read it. Of course, everybody corrects you when you're there.
Right, fair.
But it was Estaminet de Gare, which is off a little snicket. I'm from Barnsley, so I'm going to call it a snicket rather than a ginnel. And between Berg Square and Mark Square.
Well, this is where it came from. It's like I went there, found it, and then every time someone went to I knew, I said, there's this really cool little bar, but it's very difficult to find. It's between two squares, and you have to kind of go through this little snicket.
Thank you.
And so I had a photo outside it. It's not a very good podcast thing, but thumbs up kind of thing outside the door. And everyone I've known who've gone, I've made them basically recreate that photo.
Yeah. And
so I said, Sean,
typically I would just walk off and not give a monkey's about something like that, but I let Deb walk around the corner as we were going, and it was raining, and so I thought I'd stay dry for a few seconds more, and I took a picture for our lovely Abby.
You look really happy about it as well.
Yeah, not half.
Laura.
Hello.
Beer of the month.
Pretty easy decision for me this month. Last weekend we went over to New Mills for Torside. I don't know if I've mentioned, I love Torside. Haven't had a Torside fangirl moment in at least 2 months, I'd say, so here is a big one. They had a festival at the weekend called Smoke Fest. Pretty niche. All of the beers, of which I think there were 5 or 6 cask, 8 keg and loads of bottles, everything was smoked, and it was such a great day. Just really, really friendly, really nice vibes. Not a massive festival as you might expect with it being so kind of focused beer-wise, but so many great beers. Honourable mention to Yeasty Boys Rex Attitude, which is a 100% peated malt pale ale, which they had on keg. But my absolute favourite, and the beer I'm picking as beer of the month, is from Torside themselves, and it was on cask, and it was their 10% Rausch wine, which is a smoked barley wine, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. It was smooth and sticky and smoky, but still really sweet, and just so nicely balanced, and just super tasty. So well done Torside for a great beer and a great day.
Foods as well.
Oh yeah. You got food. The food was they had pies that had one of their smoked stouts in, or you could have pretzels with smoked ham and smoked cheese. And I think most of the cheese they cold smoked it themselves, like under a little cloche. At the brewery, and smoky blue cheese, and is probably the only thing that could have made drinking that Rausch wine any better, and they had it.
Sounds like an awful.
So I promised we had an extra guest in James's absence. And so tonight, we're hearing from...
We've gone A-list
We've gone
tonight
A-list,
as well,
yeah.
haven't we? We thought, could we try and get
we've already heard of it before.
Sheffield beer scene A-list.
So we've got Hannah Bolton-Tite, who we might know from Neepsend Brewery.
Hello.
So you've been tasked with the beer of the month as well.
Yeah. I had 2 actually, but I've nailed it down to one beer that I just thought was absolutely outstanding. It came from the Shakespeare's. And it was by Wander Beyond in Manchester. It was the La Adelita 11% Imperial Cake Stout, basically. Full of chipotle chili, cacao nib, vanilla, and it was just unctuous with a real big spice kick that was so warming. And like you said, Sean, about your bourbon, at the end of the night, it not only finished me off, but it made me ready for bed, and it just left me wanting more, and I've been fantasising about it ever since.
I'm imagining you walking home with that ready break and glow around you, that little orange glow that you get
A bit like
from
that.
a beer like that.
I was doing a little bit of research about it, and they named the beer after a Mexican folk song, La Adelita, and it basically celebrates Mexican female war heroes, which is particularly good anyway, being that they're female war heroes. But I also noticed that Hop Hideout have got some in stock as well, so I think I'll be paying Jules a visit.
Is that a bottle then, or is that...
In can, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I haven't had much Wander Beyond, and I think I've heard exclusively good things about them. I've only had their mini milkshake IPA, which was really nice, but...
I was going to say mostly big, apart from that, which was a big flavour for such a low ABV
I think
beer.
I had like a 3.8 casks pale in Shakespeare recently. I wasn't blown away by it.
Oh, really?
Weirdly, because I've heard, like you said, like...
Octadelita
Yeah.
and the Octopad, is it Mango Milkshake, Imperial IPA about 12%, and everybody raving about
I've
that
got...
as well.
I can't remember what it's called, an Imperial Apricot Berliner Weiss at home. It's got a little slow Loris, I think, on the label or something.
I know the name of that.
Is it called Loris something?
It is, yes. 7.2%.
I haven't had it yet, but I'm looking forward to trying it.
It is.
Yeah. Walkley Beer Cove just had their Dipper 8% Allure on the bar, and that was particularly good as well.
Very good. It's the same, but the big beers.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening now, we've just had a techno problem that Adam has rectified. No, I'm giving you all the praise because we didn't really help there. One of us went to the toilet, and that's your quiz for this week. Which one of us went to the toilet during the techno problems? So are we back on now?
It's moving, yeah.
It's moving.
Let's
So
just do
we're
it.
happy.
Let's just say there's a gremlin in the system.
So the general love was for Wander Beyond, I think, or a little bit earlier.
So I'll go to my beer.
Oh, go on then.
So, sorry. So for those of you who've been under a stone, not been here for a month, have I?
Oh yeah, you've been on holiday, haven't you?
Yeah. So even though I had some quite decent ones just before I left, including a couple of Neepsend ones, and some good Abbeydale ones. I'm gonna go for one that I got in Bilbao, a brewery called Baskery, and it was called Hitman, which is an American IPA, 7%. And I also had a different one called Sock, which is from the same brewery. It was a mango New England style IPA, which is both really, really good. Considering I had pretty much a month off any sort of decent beer, it was like a nice welcome back to something a bit crafty. And that was
Adam, you've always been a good friend, but we booked our flights to Bilbao last night for next year, so you could be my best friend over the next few weeks. I could
point you a few places.
I saw the brewery on there yesterday when I was doing a bit of research.
There is a little brew pub,
Baskery, one called Penguin as well.
Yeah, I don't think I actually made it to them. I got it from a shop that was near the cathedral called like Cathedral of Beers. It went like a cathedral.
Did you have a day there?
Or something.
A day there?
Yeah, we stayed there for 2 days.
Oh, did you? Right.
Yeah,
good stuff.
One day in the city.
Yeah, good stuff.
One day perched above it in a camper van, sort of looking over the city. Looking over like the
Get in there.
football
great.
ground.
Yeah, it does.
Where is it?
It's in Basque Regions. It's basically it's about an hour down the coast from the west coast of France. It's on the northern
San
coast.
Sebastian,
Oh, right.
and you
Yeah,
come
It's
nice.
very, very north.
Yeah,
Nice.
Bilbao, and then Santander further on.
So any places to do pinchos in the
That's
city,
the one, yeah, that's
you want
where
to
we're going.
You want to go and see what Bilbao do, and then take stock and improve it. not naming any names.
All right.
So I'm just saying, absolutely.
Well, I don't know anywhere.
Miles better.
Can you?
Everywhere.
Where would you recommend in Sheffield?
No, I think people do
Pinchos.
good stuff, but I think once you've been
Where
there,
would you recommend?
What for?
For Pinchos in
Old
Sheffield.
Workshop do them, and Tramshed do them. I just think like it's nice to have something from the origin. I think, and
Of course, always is.
maybe,
Pint of Guinness is always better in Dublin, isn't it?
yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I think there's certain things they put on that shouldn't be put on little pieces of bread. It's that big. Just sure, I'm struggling. I'll take them any day, but you know, €2. Some of the stuff that were coming out of them places were blue. Some
I'm
actually
looking
nice
forward
beer.
to it.
Did also find some ice cream that was basically squid ink and flavours and all sorts of weird stuff. So,
That sounds great.
so if you want some like
It does.
sort of savoury ice cream,
I'd rather go to a smoked beer festival.
not so sure. So, Sean, first beer of the night.
Well,
we tell us a bit about the theme.
we should perhaps look at the theme first. Yeah, so we realise that we're in. If you listen very quickly, we're in early November. If you're a slow coach, this is late November and means less to you. But we've decided to have a look at 4 Christmas beers. Down at the shop, we've already had dozens and dozens and dozens of people buying already for Christmas. So it's very much in the customer. Our customer forefront is Christmas. Not really, ideally, in the real world would you be talking about Christmas at this point. But,
I disagree.
But next month for our Christmas edition of Sheffield Hopcast, we're going out on the Raz.
Oh, Sean's
so
back
we're
on the
we're,
back of
we're,
the
we're
beers.
on a pub crawl, which doesn't really necessarily mean that we're going to drink many Christmas beers. So we thought we would be nice and clever, not miss out on a few Christmas recommendations, and so we've got 4 lined up for tonight.
Also, I think as soon as Halloween and bonfire night are gone, that is the
I know what
point
you
at
mean.
which it is Christmas, and we are on
I
the
know what you
6th
mean.
of November.
It's like 7 weeks, isn't it?
Yes.
It's coming.
More than any other city, Sheffield has an earlier Christmas than any other UK city, and it's all down to our second beer of tonight,
Which we'll come back to that.
which we'll come back to. But I think Christmas comes early to Sheffield.
What's your thoughts on Christmas, Hannah?
I like Christmas. I don't like going in there too early. I mean, I'll get a tree. It'll be a real tree, but it goes up 2 weeks before and then it comes down immediately afterwards.
Like Boxing Day?
No, because I'm never there on Boxing Day.
January.
but Thank you.
January the 1st.
It comes down fairly early because I like to be done with it. But I like the season and I like the celebation.
Has anyone done any Christmas shopping as yet? Oh,
Yep.
not beer, of course, but
Yep.
Laura,
I
of course.
thought about it.
You bought our gifts.
I always start my Christmas shopping early. I'm a highly organised individual.
Does anyone here buy anything for Christmas immediately after last Christmas?
No.
No.
Oh, that's good.
Well, you don't know if you're still going to be friends with people that far away.
Or just random gifts that you can then you can shunt people's
Much
ways.
like when I'm in a restaurant where I'll be indecisive indecisive even on what I want. I'll make that decision. I make that decision once that waiter comes or waitress comes and asks me, and I'll make that decision. I think Christmas is like that for me. I have to wait till Christmas Eve, and Christmas Eve, I'll be like, I can't balls it up now. So you're forced to make a decision, aren't you?
I just love, like, why would you not have as much Christmas as possible when it's so nice?
Yeah, it can be overbearing though, can't it? I mean, the adverts on TV are just
It's rammed down your
sickening.
throat, isn't it?
You'd like to have. I think the more adverts that are on, the more stubborn people perhaps become, and
I don't really
you don't want to
watch
be
telly.
force fed it. Yeah, that's
So maybe this is why
that's
I
your
have
own
such a
independent
festive little
choice.
elf.
Yeah. So our first beer of the night is from Neepsend Brewery in West Yorkshire, in Keighley, and it's a 4% pale ale. Pale ale's a little bit rarer, of course, amongst the Christmas beer crowd. You do get them, but certainly stands out as a pale ale and being a little bit different to most of the darker stuff that you tend to get. The beer's called Three Spirits. They do a range of, I think, maybe 4, 5, 6 different Christmas beers based around the Dickens sort of theme, and always prove very popular, bought mostly as gifts. I've hung on to this urban myth about nailers for some years now that I am sure, I will double check with Northern Monk and apologise if this is not the case, but I'm sure their first couple of beers, their first 2 brews, New World IPA and Stranic, their Imperial Stout, I'm sure they brewed initially at Nailers in Keighley. I'm sure that was the case, and if that is the case, then they have a vital position in UK, the UK modern beer scene. Their styles, particularly, they were more traditional and are brewed for a more traditional palate, certainly.
I want to know what makes this a Christmas beer by flavour.
No, there's no flavour, I'm sure. They don't claim any flavour on the bottle, from a point of view being Christmas. It's just branded as a Christmas beer with their other range. So they have a porter, they have a pale ale, they have a ruby. So they give it a nice choice.
Yeah. You probably get to a point though, in the midst of all the heavy Christmas drinks, where one of these would be very welcome. I think.
Yeah.
Was it 4.1?
4%, nice and light.
There's a touch of pine, unless my palate's all out of whack. I'm getting a little bit of something festive without it being like a figgy pudding stout or something that's obviously.
It feels like one of the ones where you'll crack open a bit early, maybe on Christmas Day, if you've got a range
Nice
of beers.
starter.
Right.
Yeah.
My father-in-law would love that.
Yeah. It strikes me as a beer that you would perhaps have on Christmas Day as you're just starting to prep your or get close to getting ready to set up the table and have it in the kitchen, nice and easy and breezy before something a bit darker and stronger later.
So that said, what is everyone's kind of Christmas Day routines in terms of drinking? Just hit it hard from waking up.
We actually do hit it hard from waking up.
So peeling the carrots and the spuds and you're on it.
Well, I mean, when we go up and see my family who live just north of the Forth Road Bridge in Scotland, it's pretty boozy. We don't see each other often, so we'll tend to start off with a bit of fizz, and just so you know, it's Christmas. Why not? And then we'll do a few presents and things, and then maybe the gin will get brought out, and then beers later on when everyone wants to just steady themselves down a little bit. But
so you start on the spirits, then switch to beer later.
Yeah, just to calm ourselves down a bit, really. But we don't have to go anywhere, so.
Yeah, well, we like to have a smoked salmon breakfast or something, and that's really nice with a little bit of peaty whiskey. So we tend to start the day on a whiskey, then we'll have a Bucks Fizz as a refresher. In the afternoon, we tend to go to the Sheafew, which is our local, which is open on Christmas Day. So we'll always go and have a couple of beers in there.
I'm trying to remember Christmas Day last year, and I'm sure that you switched out the Bucks Fizz for something different last year. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you went for like a sour or something.
Yeah.
Or like a.
Yeah, I found some orangey sour beer. I can't remember what they were now, but I found a couple, and I think did I make some kind of cocktail that was sour beer and orange liqueur? Or
you might have done. I'm sure that you.
Sounds like
Adam
something I would do.
Does it?
Yeah, I can't remember that. I just thought, I'm sure Laura did something a bit clever.
Well, actually, just on the way here, we nipped into Starmore Boss just down the road, which is a very excellent shop for wines and spirits in Sheffield, for those of you who aren't local, and we bought an alternative to Bucks Fizz for Christmas Day, yuzu sake. So that's going to be our Christmas Day today. Sake is really interesting actually because it's fermented a lot more like a beer is. So there we go, tying it back in with beer.
Sean,
this is a sham. I feel under pressure now. I now think I'm probably going to have 12 vodkas by about 9 o'clock.
You're not designated driver. You're not designated driver, Sean.
No.
Wait till 9 o'clock to take a.
No. Mine is a shamefully stereotypical Barnsley stroke South Yorkshire Christmas Day, in that we go down to my mum and dad's, well, our Christmas dinner at my mum and dad's, but we go down to my mum and dad's, and then I go to the pub with my dad, my uncle, my cousins, both male and female cousins, but at that sort of senior level. It's my dad and his brother and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit blokey and stereotypical.
While women cook,
while my mum has a drink more, but then obviously I wash the pots after Adam. That's the payback into. Hopefully that's the payback. And obviously buy nice gifts, and I'm very thankful. But going to the pub with my dad for that couple of hours is something I love.
Similar with me. I mean, since I've had a kid and stuff and got married, and now I have family that's like 200 miles away. You have to kind of juggle the family stuff, and like you said, But traditionally, we used to go down to the local pub, which I would never ever go in at any other time of year, on Christmas Day with my granddad, my dad, my cousin, and my uncle, and have a couple of pints. Oak Tree at Wath. Which isn't there anymore.
No.
Bit in the middle of an estate, and you'd never go there any other time of year. Be like best atmosphere you could ever expect. Like you were all one big family. And then when that shut down and Grandad died, and it kind of almost like split up a bit. Still trying. If I go over at Mum and Dad's, we'll maybe try walk across to top end of Swinton and.
Gate?
Well, Gate or King's Head.
I think that's closed at the moment.
Yeah, it is
King's
a bit,
Head.
But it'd always be, your best option would probably be... Actually, King's Head did have landlord on, and actually I have had some Abbeydale on in there, actually.
Nice.
There you go. So, but now it's a bit of just grab what you can, I think, or at home, sort of new family kind of stuff, so... Some bottles in, maybe some spirits and some wine.
What time would you get up with your daughter?
I think probably before she does. I'm still that kind of kid.
That's good.
We used to put my mum and dad's clocks forwards, so that they'd think it was the right time when they got up.
Which is nice, because then they get bonus Christmas Day.
Well, we used to take them a cup of tea and a cup of coffee and some breakfast, and then jump on them, and that was it. Christmas was underway.
Brilliant. So, I know James is not here today, but he has put a little bit of graft in for this episode, and so this sort of time of year, just moving just into November, it's time for a bit of a Sheffield tradition and an annual release, which excites a lot of people. And so James went up to Bradfield last week to see what that's all about. Well, it is a crisp, quite sunny Thursday afternoon. It's the last Thursday of October. It's just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun, it's a little bit chilly, but the sun is shining. And thinking it might be one of the last kind of nice, kind of sunny afternoons of the year. So a perfect day to be sat outside the Nag's Head. And I'm sat with John, who is owner of the brewery.
That's great, yep.
So we're here for, I think it's one of the big dates now in the Sheffield beer calendar. It's kind of grown over the years. So it's the launch of Belgian Blue for 2018. Yeah, I mean, would you agree with that? Has it become from its kind of its origins to what it is now? Because people really kind of count down to the launch of it every year now, don't they?
I think since we first brewed it, it's become a bit of a phenomenon. Yes, it's certainly grown in popularity, and as a seasonal beer, it's really sort of well accepted. I think we first brewed it in 2005. Actually, the first year we started brewing, so it's been with us a long time. And like a lot of us other beers, it's named after a breed of a cow, which is actually a Belgian Blue cow. So that's where the name came from.
I never knew that. I always wondered whether it was some kind of take on a weird Belgian style of beer.
No. We started right from day one sort of thing. I mean, we wanted to keep a farming theme, so as even as Blonde, as bestseller, is named after Blonde Aquitaine, which is a breed of a cow. And then there's Brown Cow, which is actually Swiss Brown. We tried to keep on that theme, so Belgian Blue is a breed of a cow.
All right, that's quite interesting. So what's kind of the origins of Belgian Blue? How did it begin, way back when in 2005?
In 2005, when we'd only just started, and Paul's head brewery, keen to try different recipes, different brews, and he was keen to try and make a blue beer. And after some research, he found that to make a beer blue was nearly impossible. You could turn it green quite easily, but then it won't look very appetising. So the nearest thing you could get to a blue beer was to create a blue head on it. And the blue head head, if it's served up properly, she'll follow down the side of the glass and leave a blue tint. So it's only slightly blue, but because when it's pulled, people say to us, "Oh, it's purple that." But if it's served up right, you do get that blue tint on the head. So,
in the right light.
In the right light, yeah, on a foggy day.
I guess you probably get asked this a lot. Now, Adam, who's the other host of the Hopcast with me, he's a fan of Belgian Blue as well, but he always says, it's definitely changed over the years, they've definitely changed the recipe to that, it's not the same as it used to be. And I guess probably you get other people that kind of ask that question. Has it changed over the years, or is it exactly the same now?
To my knowledge, no. Paul doesn't tell us all his secrets, but no, it's when we first started, it was obviously done in a small batch, with 10-barrel plant. So it was done more or less on a cask-to-cask basis. We now brew on a 40-barrel plant, and we'll brew twice a day, so we have 80 barrel on each batch, and so each batch of Belgian Blue goes through in one. It's everything what's put into it's put in conditioning tanks, and so it's all done in a big vat instead of. It could be a little bit more individual, shall we say? In the early days it could be, but now it is more standardised, and it has been for a number of years. So I think people sometimes, everybody likes to think, what it was like just last year when they first tasted, but it is same each year. It has been for a number of years now. So,
do you get people like me that say it's not that percentage they put on it? That's not true. It's about 18% this stuff, because I have 3 pints of it and I'm falling down the stairs.
I think it's deceiving. I know one of us other beers, Sixer. It's back to Paul. He seems to have a knack of creating these strong beers that taste frighteningly easy to drink, and it's not till you've had a few pints you try and stand up, you realise how strong they are. But no, it should be what it says on the tin. I can assure you.
Fair enough. So how successful a beer is it for the brewery then? What have you got any kind of facts and figures? They were saying that last year on the launch day it was selling a pint a minute in the first few hours, and kind of generally how well does it sell for you?
You put me on the spot there. It does sell really well. I know quite a few Wetherspoons in particular in Sheffield. They all have a place ready, and they try and outdo each other and how much blue they can sell. I haven't just got any figures on the top of my head just to rattle off, but it sells a lot. It's the only special we do that ever puts competes with Blonde. I mean, Blonde is such a flagship, but this one will give us a good run through Christmas time. But then people say, why don't you brew it all year? But then I'm sure if it were brewed all year round, it wouldn't sell as much as what we do over the Christmas month, because people have had it, they have a good drink on it, they have a good headache on it, and then they think, no, it's gone now till next year.
I think that's true, and you get this kind of fascinating countdown that started to kind of happen now. I know Sean at Beer Central, who's one of our panellists, he's been putting pictures all over social media about pre-orders and everything ready for the launch of it this year. So it's kind of become that big institution, hasn't it? That's just it's kind of almost part of Christmas now.
I'd like to think so. I think sometimes we perhaps didn't realise just what it had grown into, but the last few years we've had some things in pubs and actually countdown days to when it's launched, and it's the only one that people pre-order it from way back. And on Monday particularly, when we start selling in cask into Sheffield, it'll be a really busy day. That'll keep everybody busy on that day, but no, it certainly sells well.
What about the brewery generally then? How are things? What kind of a year has it been for Bradfield?
Hectic. That's all I can say. We've just set on 4 new members of staff, and as I say, we're brewing. So we brew 80 barrel a day, at least 4 days a week, and then going into the Friday or busier times, or we have some expansion plans underway. Hopefully this next year we should be able to get on with them, but we're quite busy.
Obviously beer is kind of has been a bit of a changing beast over the last few years particularly, but we've seen in the last few weeks a couple of more kind of hype breweries announce they're going back towards kind of cask. What do you see as the future for Bradfield? Obviously cask is very much your thing. Are there any plans to change that, or do you kind of have a plan and you stick to it?
I think we have a plan to stick to it, really. We set off from day one. I know I keep going back to a farming background, but we like to bring that philosophy into what we're doing now, and I think it's just giving people value for money. Same as at Nags Eddy at £2.50 a pint. We can afford to do it, and we run it as a separate business. People say, you must be subsidised it. We don't. It has to stand its own, and it works at £2.50 a pint, because you get people coming in and they can well, I'm not saying they can't afford the other, but they can afford it. It's not, you're not lifting anybody's leg up, and I think we're giving value for money. Along with a lot of beers as well, they're not over hot. They're nice, easy drinking, middle of the road. And when we set off, we wanted to produce a beer that the man on the street walking past the pub could call in, have a decent pint, and walk on. Not, one that's, I don't know. Hoppy beers do sell to certain people, but it's not been our philosophy to create hoppy beers. We're more middle of the road. Sometimes we get criticised, but we sell it, so, why bother?
Fair enough. John, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you wanted to get across?
I don't think so. I'll have a good Christmas, that's the main thing, and keep drinking that Belgian Blue.
Have a great Christmas.
So thanks to Bradfield Brewery, and Belgian Blue.
Yeah, our second beer of the night, and is a beer that I certainly used to drink more regularly before having a beer shop and sort of getting all airy-fairy about my preferences and my hops and my yeasts and all sorts of things. So it's a beer that I remember fondly from Christmas days gone past, Wetherspoons in Wunwell sort of thing, the Horseshoe. Nowadays, of course, it's an annual phenomenon. That's a fair word, I think.
I think
locally.
it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, locally, that's a fair word. And again, apologies to anyone that's in Coventry tonight listening to our podcast, and you wouldn't get the same impact, of course. But Christmas comes very early to Sheffield, all as a result of, on the last the last Thursday of October, it gets launched at the Nag's Head and by the brewery, and then it's on general release then pubs and beer shops and everywhere else from the last Monday in October. So I often kid we spend time in Bruges on the last weekend of October, and I travel to Belgium to launch Belgian Blue, which is a real achievement for us in our shop. So let's open it. We've got a bottle opener. We're knocking about.
Has Sean got his rubbish bottle?
Excuse me. No, this is Laura's, which is a Jaipur badge bottle opener. So that's why I keep. So Belgian Blue, 4.9%, fruity bitter. We're suspicious in talking about it a little bit earlier that might have had sloe berries in there initially. I know that things seem to have changed over the years. The colour of it has changed, and as they've had to brew more and more and more of it, there'll be little tweaks to it. So a beer that pours now probably more
like a Ribena.
dark, purple,
Ribena.
colour of blood almost.
Well, if you go by, I mean, James called me out on the interview and said, basically, you'll heard it, but saying that I'm almost 100% that's changed.
Yeah,
and it's definitely changed from when I used to surf it.
Yeah, and they've said it's not, but I for some weird reason, I don't, like I said, this is a phenomenon thing. Going back probably, I don't know, maybe eight years maybe. A couple of my friends, we always used to wait for the annual release of it, and I used to think it was a lot darker.
Yeah,
with a brilliant, it had a brilliant white head, like a proper white head, and then when you used to, it seemed to like react with saliva. You get these like flecks of blue in it, didn't you?
Right, yeah, certainly blue in the head.
Like
I remember it having a bluish head and being dark beer.
Yeah,
a bit like white, not red.
So that's I think on cask you still get a little bit of the blue head. That in bottles not giving as much blue at the moment, and is a dark sort of ruby. Yeah, darker than ruby, really, isn't it?
So what do we think about this?
A brilliant red.
So what do we think about this weird phenomenon? Because it's not. I wouldn't say that it's a beer that is a popular style or is drunk, but it's drunk by people who are not traditionally like ale drinkers. It just seems really odd that people like really have this. I mean, going back to the pilot episode, and Rich saying that one of his beers that he couldn't wait for every year was Belgian Blue.
Yeah, loved it.
and I think you might have mentioned it in episode 2 as well, probably. I think you tried to get in Belgian Blue in a few times, and it's just one of those beers that seems to just ignite this.
I think it depends on your standpoint as a drinker. So if you are a big fan of Bradfield and the Bradfield Blonde, along with Moonshine, Abigail Moonshine, and I'm sure Neepsend Blonde, are really smash it on that sort of 4% pale ale scene for Sheffield, to get to October and have that as a different drink for a limited time only, would be a change up. It would be a change up. It would be something different, something to look forward to. But if you're drinking 10% imperial stouts all year or guava sours, then Belgian Blue's not really going to make a massive difference to things. Yeah, it's not going to have a massive impact.
Which is funny when it looks more like one of those beers. Well, it looks like a lager and black, doesn't it?
I think it's got some effervescence there as well. It tastes a little bit carbonated to me. And I'm convinced it used to be a lot fruitier than that. It's funny what you said about traditional ale drinkers don't. What was it?
People don't really drink ale seem to
gravitate towards it. Yeah. And I think that's got a real traditional flavour to it. I'm not getting loads and loads of fruit either.
It's not like
there's a bit of fruit.
No.
Yeah, there's a bit. It's not a fruit
getting
beer.
It's like a tartness, but not.
But if you don't normally drink beer with a bit of fruit in, that would be a fruity beer, wouldn't it?
I mean, there was a point maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I thought there was a definite, obvious change. And I mean, like I said, to look at it, you probably from a distance you would think a stout, but now you think. Like,
it could be a cherry beer,
like a cherry beer or something.
Yeah.
So for them to like
fruity,
for them to confidently say that's not changed, well, something's changed because that's not at all what it used to look like or taste like. I think, but yeah, I think maybe it's just one of those like sort of nostalgic thing. I know it's a nostalgic thing, but like
it's hype, isn't it?
Yeah, you look forward to it and you think, right, that's the start of Christmas. If you're a beer drinker and you like that kind of cosy pub kind of feel, and you start seeing that in your local pubs, then maybe that makes you feel a little bit. You coming towards Christmas.
Yeah, last night was bonfire night, and you were out at your local,
which was in Bradfield.
Crowded, lovely fireworks all over the place, a little bit of chill in the air, scarves on, pint of Belgian Blue. Context, absolutely perfect.
I mean, for a bit of context in terms of like how it gets out, its reach around the city. And I know Laura, you were saying that it's a bit of it's a big beer into the Christmas, and which you have to compete with. But like I walked past that new little sports micro pub, which is basically like a bit of a lagery pub. But then I popped my head through, and their 2 cask offerings were both Belgian Blue.
Yeah.
So basically they do just lager, and then they've whacked 2 little sports bar.
Yeah.
So it obviously sells.
It really does.
What is it?
More than anything.
Since you've had it in Beer Central, has it been one of your best sellers?
This time of year, almost. They didn't bottle it initially. It was mini keg first year, maybe it's 2 years. But so we put it on sale on Monday of last week, and it probably was top seller every day of that first week. Yesterday, I think the Northern Monk Celestial Motion beat it, which was no shock.
Yeah.
But it just absolutely smashes it right up to Christmas, and particularly this year, the last 2 years, bottles have been available in August and September because there were that many produced.
Right.
This year they run out of bottles in January, and so we've had a 9-month gap as opposed to normally there's only a 2 to 3 month
gap.
gap.
Do you get people asking for it all year round?
All year round, yeah. And from August, September, it's a constant barrage of questions. When's Belgian Blue out? When's it coming? There's a real anticipation for it. Yeah, real anticipation. I've actually just enjoyed that there. I've had a little taste in my glass and just enjoyed it. It doesn't strike me as being something that's going to compete with anything within the modern scene, but if you drink Doombar, if you drink lots of blonde beers, if you drink plenty of best bitters, ruby ales, that is a something different that you can celebrate and enjoy for 6-8 weeks, and then you go back to January and your mundane life.
And celebrate beer.
There are very few of our customers, certainly. There are a couple, but very few of our customers customers that buy the big hoppy IPAs and big imperial stouts and sours and all that would buy that. But there are still more drinkers out there that don't drink big hoppy IPAs and sours and imperial stouts. The vast majority of drinkers are on steadier way beers, and for them a 4.9% fruity bitter is more than they're used to.
Yeah, definitely.
And is for some people a big step up. My dad drinks John Smith's Smooth. What's that now? 3.6%. If you're on Green King IPA, a 4.9% fruity bitter is you're going out of your mind.
Yeah,
Aren't you?
it's a big leap.
It's a big leap. Yeah, it is.
So beer number 3, Sean, what we got?
Beer number 3. I don't think I should introduce beer number 3.
Oh, come on. I think you've introduced a lot.
Oh no. Go on. You can explain, Hannah, why I've handed over.
It's because this beer is brewed by Welbeck Abbey in North Nottinghamshire, near Worksop, and it's their Cocoa Noel, their seasonal stout. It's 5.5%, and it's brewed with cacao nibs, which all go into the mash tun at the beginning of the brew. And I think Sean specifically wanted me to introduce this because we at the brewery we always get really, really excited when we're brewing Cocoa Noel.
To point out, you used to work for Welbeck Abbey.
Yes, did I not say that?
We have a chat about it.
Yes, I worked there for a good couple of years and thoroughly enjoyed it. I cut my brewing teeth at Welbeck Abbey, and I still get in touch with the team and I love them to bits. But anyway, going back to the story, when we were brewing Cocoa Noel, we'd all get a clean cup, dip it into the mash tun, which obviously the cacao nibs were in, dip our cups in and then make a brew with it, and it was absolutely divine. We really loved it, and my parents love that beer. My mum makes cracking chilli with it as well.
Does she?
Yeah, she's got some on order.
There you go.
Claire doesn't know it yet, but
So can I ask a question about one of the ingredients, cacao nibs?
Yeah.
Which used to confuse me early doors when they started appearing in beers as a difference to cocoa. So
Yeah.
what will be the difference between cocoa and cacao nibs?
So-
Some people think
when you
I'm
say
spelling
it-
cocoa wrong when I put
it's more
cacao.
pretentious.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah.
Cacao.
Well done.
I think it's
yeah.
basically the
Well,
same
me and
thing,
Adam
but
say
it's more the
cocoa, and you
husks.
two would say cacao.
You say cacao.
Mate,
Let's go
I genuinely
now.
don't know, but Claire at Welbeck uses the husks, and she used to use a chocolatier that I don't think she does anymore because I can't see his branding on the bottle. But the husks are a byproduct of the chocolate making process.
Right. So it's a recycling of
Basically, yeah, and
cocoa
they impart loads
husks
of
or
flavour.
cacao husks.
Cacao.
What makes
Isn't-
cacao different to
I might
cocoa?
be wrong here.
I think you'll
Isn't-
know this, Laura.
Isn't cacao the raw ingredient, like the plant that you
Cocoa.
make
Like the
cocoa from, that you get cocoa from? That didn't make any sense,
So-
did
so-
it?
I think
no,
it's
it
the
would.
husk from the nib itself.
Yeah. So it's cacao in its raw state, and it then is processed into cocoa.
Probably.
I
Perhaps.
think so.
We need a chocolatier.
Or a brewer that's been involved in brewing this many times. You'd imagine. Go on, Laura.
I'm just fact checking myself.
Go on.
Cacao is raw, made by cold pressing unroasted cacao beans. Cocoa is raw cacao that's been roasted.
Very good.
So I think I was right.
I think you were bang right. Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
say it in
you're-
quite that many good words.
No,
but
you were bang right.
so yeah, cacao's the raw
Bang
version.
right. So Welbeck Abbey based on
The Welbeck estate.
Definitely worth it.
which is beautiful, isn't it?
It's absolutely stunning. It was a pleasure going to work every day, whatever the season. It's just a beautiful place to be.
I didn't go to the brewery, but I've only been up to the Abbey once, and it was to
Carclay.
Carclay's birthday party.
That snowy night.
Oh,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It was so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
when we drove up and were just astounded by how lovely the Abbey grounds are, and you know you can go around them, and the brewery's actually in the grounds, isn't it, right
Yeah.
by the Abbey, and
Artisan food, school
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, School of Artisan Food.
yeah.
When I was still there were coffee roasters. Obviously, there was Kumar from Carclay. There was a guy doing some kind of natural oils and sort of extracts and things. There's a chocolatier, hot
Seems like
chocolate.
a guitar maker.
There were some.
That's
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah,
There were
sure.
some marshmallow makers, but they've since left, I think.
Bit of farm
But
shop
yeah,
and stuff.
the farm shop is cracking, and you can get the Stitch Hutton cheese there
They've
as
got
well,
plenty
which
of
is
Welbeck
awesome.
beers there. But these are like the Christmas kind of. There's like a bit of a Christmas fair there, don't there? I couldn't tell you when that is, but it's worth looking out for if you're fancying a bit of something different just outside of Sheffield. And it's not far away, is it?
No.
Really?
No.
I know, just have such fond memories of that day as well, because it was a really difficult time for me. It sounds a bit ridiculous. Basically, our cat was really, really poorly, and our cat is a massive part of our life. And yeah, he was really ill, and we were like, what do we do? And we couldn't. He was at the vet, so we were like, well, we might as well still go to this. We can't do anything while he's at the vet, so we might as well still go to this birthday
snowed really-
party and try
really
and have a
badly,
nice
didn't
day.
it?
And then as soon as we got there, it just started to snow, and it was just so beautiful, and we had such a lovely time. And and it's just when you're in the middle of something that was quite traumatic for us, and just to go to something so welcoming
switch
and
off for a
friendly and
bit.
beautiful
You
was
can't have a
really
shout
nice.
out, yeah, was it on the podcast?
Oh, he should have done.
Is the cat still alive?
Yeah, he was
that's good
fine.
news.
No, so obviously the blog that I set up with Jim, my husband, is called Mash Tun and Meow, and we only set it up really because of the cat, because he used to sit next to our bottles of beer, and well, he still does, but sits next to bottles of beer or whiskey and looks super cute, and turns out the internet quite likes alcohol and cats combined. And the blog kind of grew out of that, and from then so did our interest in beer and our networking within beer, and wanting to get a lot more involved and know more, and started to homebrew, and it was from that we both ended up with jobs in the brewing industry. So the cat is entirely to blame for it all. So
What's your cat's name?
he's called Tosin, which everyone always goes, what? But now there's an actor on Doctor Who called Tosin, so I feel like it's a more... He's actually named after the guitarist from a band called Animals as Leaders, which is also very fitting because he rules the roost at our house, and he's beautiful. So there's always loads of pictures of him on our Twitter and our blog, so feel free to look him up.
Will you buy him a Christmas gift?
Yeah. He gets, from my mum, he gets a bigger Christmas stocking than me and Jim do.
Right.
Honestly.
Talking of naming cats, one of my cats, Rufus, is named after the fourth or fifth middle name of oh God, what I've got his name is now.
What a shocking story.
Just dropped out
Just
my head.
make something up now.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Is it Kiefer Sutherland? Is that his fourth or fifth name?
Yeah, we realised. I think we looked because we were watching 24, and we looked him up for whatever reason, and it's like Kiefer, Jeff, Dave, George, Rufus. Gary, Sutherland, and we're like, all right, it's the middle names, and we're like, oh, Rufus is a cool name. That's
a good name.
Yeah.
We've got Treacle as well, but she was pre-named, so yeah. Yeah, there's cat
Treacle's
watch.
a better name, actually. I think you should hand all future cat naming over to somebody else.
There's Cat Watchton. So what do you think of the beer? I really like it. It's
Yeah,
very
very
tight
smooth.
stout.
Yeah, it's nice
I
and
also,
smooth. That.
it definitely feels like the first actually Christmassy beer that we've had, I think. I'm feeling quite festive drinking this.
I love this beer. It's a great stout.
It's kind of a bit. I'm of a bitter stout. You know,
It's
you get
dry, dark
yeah.
chocolate. It's just
The aftertaste.
roasted
That's
flavours.
my
really
type of
nice,
stout. I
yeah.
like it
Really
more.
good.
You know that I've drunk it sort of rather than that when it goes a bit sweet and you feel a bit like you could drink quite a bit of that. I think.
Yeah. On cask, it's fantastic
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
I'm not getting much aroma from it from a bottle.
bit of
that-
dark
Yeah,
chocolate.
just chocolate.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because I've had a bit of Belgian Blue in this and a bit of some.
Yeah, that nails it in as well.
So that's Coco Noel. Any story behind the name? It seems pretty straightforward.
That was named pre-me
Was it?
being at Welbeck Abbey
Was
Brewery,
it?
yeah. So you'd have to quiz Claire.
So a
on
bit
that.
like Adam's cat Treacle, it was
Yeah, pre-named.
Right. It's still a better story
If I'd
than
named it,
Adam's
it'd be
was.
rubbish.
Is it the Pond House, which is a Welbeck?
It's not anymore. No,
there you
no,
go.
it's
It's all about 6
independently
months
owned.
ago, something like that.
Ooh, probably, yeah,
Yes.
about that.
New
Maybe
news.
closer to 8 months.
Yeah.
There you go.
The Arctic monkeys like to have a drink in there when they go over to a show.
Yeah, there was some social media of them in there, weren't there? Why is that?
I don't know, they like to go to a showcase.
Yeah.
It's
I was gonna say,
conveniently
it's
across
just
the road,
from
isn't
the,
it?
The the Indian, isn't it?
I've never eaten at a shoker, and I really think I should have done.
Great.
Yeah, you really
Correct.
should.
I have.
It's great.
I went to the Public, which is a little cocktail bar in the city centre. Did a kind of a tasting menu.
Won a national award recently,
It did,
didn't it?
It did. Was it best bar in the country?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they do really great cocktails. I don't think they have any beer on apart from a few bottles. But the cocktails are great. And yeah, they did this night with a shoker and this really lovely tasting menu. So since I went to that, I've been like, I really must go to the shoker and come drinking in the Sharrow Vale, Ecclesall Road area of Sheffield where we are tonight.
So before we have the next beer, everyone wants a bit more James, don't they? Do we?
Always.
Well, have we got any
James?
pre-recording of James?
Well, we'll find out in a minute, Sean.
Is it one of those, is it like a thank you speech, you know, like when somebody accepts an Oscar on your behalf and you can't go? Is he going to do, oh, we're sorry I can't be there with you tonight, but thank you for listening?
We always like a Meet the Brewer, and even though we went to Bradfield, that was a bit of a special, so we do actually have a normal Meet the Brewer section this month. So maybe 2 months ago, we went to see Josh at Blue Bee Brewery, so this is what he had to say with James.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm the director and the brewer at Blue Bee Brewery, and I've been here since 2014.
If anyone doesn't know kind of the background of the brewery, just kind of talk us through the history of Blue Bee, if you would.
Yeah, it was set up by three guys. Richard Hoff, who was the brewer, who was then who's been at Abbeydale and Acorn and various other places previously. Andrew Stevens, who had the Rutland Arms at the time, and a few other, and then since had a few other pubs, and then a silent partner as well. So they set it up pretty similar to what it is now, and then after a few years things change, if we put it like that, and sort of myself sort of took over with another couple of silent partners, and then I do the day-to-day running of the place. We brew a core range of 4 beers, the Reap Pale, Session Pale, Triple Hop, a bit more hoppy, Hillfoot Best and a Tempest Stout, and then we just brew whatever else we feel like it, sort of thing, as and when.
So it's, as we record this, it's just a couple of days actually. I was in the Rutland Arms having the Mango Milkshake IPA. Is that right?
That's something we made a couple of weeks ago.
Where so in terms of coming up with ideas for kind of the specials and stuff like that, where does it come from? Do you just kind of sit with a notepad in the evening and scribble down ideas that you like, or how do you go about that?
I mean, I have an interest in hops, so I sort of try other people's beers. If there's hops in I like, I'll use those, whether it be trying someone's like North Riding single hop pales, or something of sitting there with a bottle of Kernel or a can of Cloudwater and going, oh, that hop tastes good. So I'll go from that sort of thing. Or if it's something like trying stuff different, because obviously the market's changing a lot. It's not just session pales anymore or just bog standard IPAs. So we're trying to mix it up a bit. And obviously we're no Cloudwater or anyone like that, or Magic Rock, and we don't have the endless resources that they have. But it's trying stuff, and yes, it's probably not quite as refined as them, but we just do what we sort of feel like on any particular day. Try and have a good range of different beers for the pubs to buy, so they're not just buying 1 9 at a time or 1 keg. But yeah, just sort of, that's how I get ideas. I don't sit and write anything down particularly. Make stuff up on the day often when we're brewing. Just add as we go. Depends what we've got in.
Sounds like good fun. So you mentioned that about obviously the fact that you've kind of adapted and changed a little bit as time's gone by, as the market's changed a bit. How do you see things kind of going from this point onwards for Blue Bee? Because as you touch on the fact that a lot of breweries have had to change and adapt, and the kind of the craft beer revolution that came along and everything changed a little bit. What do you see as kind of the ethos for the future of the brewery?
I mean, we're doing a little bit more keg, but it's barely touching what we do really. So we're doing a bit of that. But then we still stick to as session. I mean, I mainly drink session pale ales on cask. I do drink big hoppy IPAs and imperial stouts from time to time. But I like going to the pub and being able to have 4 or 5 pints of one beer that you really enjoy. So I'd still predominantly go down that market, but as and when, like I say, we'll just sort of see what other people do and nick their ideas almost. But it seems to work for us. We've got a good, reasonably good following in Sheffield. So.
And where, if there's anyone that's maybe heaven forbid not tried a Blue Bee beer, whereabouts do you tend to kind of get them stocked?
Well, as you said, you were drinking it in the Rutland Arms. They've always got their two house beers are our bitter and our pale, and then they often get they at least have one cask of every special. And then elsewhere, the Kelham Island taverns always got the triple hop on, and they go through quite have a lot of specials on. Shakespeare has it on quite often, as does the Red Deer, and then various other places in town. And then it does get out and about further afield. Sometimes you've got no idea how it gets there, but you go, no, text from someone in Bristol saying, oh, I really enjoyed your beer, which is always good. And you go, oh, how's it got there? The magic of wholesalers, it just appears and gets to somewhere, and it's good to get your name out, really, and hopefully that slowly means we can produce more beer and be a bit more successful.
What's your kind of approach to bottling and canning?
We've not done any of it. I think historically we might have bottled a few Tangled Up, which has not been brewed for years, but it's not something I've looked at. Canning wise, we don't have the equipment to get the beer right for the people coming in to can, and also we certainly don't have the money to buy his own canning lines and bottling, because I'd like to do it in house. It's partly pure laziness. It's easier to put it into a cask than a keg and sell 30 or 40 litres at a time than a bottle of 500ml. It's not something I'd not do, or 330ml as it'd be, but it's just at the minute casks as main focus with a little bit of keg.
Fair enough. I appreciate the honesty. Okay, so and what about kind of specials that you've got coming up? Any kind of can you give us any teasers for what things you might be looking at in the coming weeks and months?
Well, today we are brewing an Enigma hopped pale, which is going to be low ABV, like sort of 3.5%, with a load of oats in it. Hopefully give it a bit more body. So that's Enigma's my favourite hop at the minute. It's an Australian hop. Really interesting characteristics. So we've done that, and then I'm away for a couple of weeks, so we've sort of not decided until I get back what I'll be brewing. I think I'm going to do my coffee milk stout again, because that seemed to have gone down really well, and chuck a few bits of adjunct in certain casks and whatever, and see how that goes, and then I'll sit down and figure it out whilst I'm on holiday and sort of come up with some form of plan. But as ever, we just sort of make it up as we go along.
And whereabouts are you going on holiday? Because this could influence what you end up doing when you get back.
Well, I'm going to Italy for a couple of weeks.
Right,
so
okay.
It might be mainly more red wine, really, than beer.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Thank you very much.
So thanks to Josh at Blueberry. You can kind of pick some of their beers up. Like I said, it's not some way that you would get, Sean, because they don't really do any bottled or stuff.
We know Josh well, and I'm always snagging Hannah and Gav as well at Neepsend whenever I get the opportunity. Very selfishly, of course. But always look out for. I know I had a lovely Neepsend blonde whilst on we were in Harley over the summer near Wentworth, and had a gorgeous Neepsend blonde in the sunshine. And whenever I go in the Rutland, and that tends to be more of a winter pub for us on a Saturday after work. So within the next couple of weeks we'll be doing that. I always look for a Blue Bee beer first, something sort of 5%ish hoppy, and very good with the American hops.
I do. I think again, you kind of think it's quite traditional, but it's not really.
No, it's not.
They're very good at cask beer.
Yeah.
Very well hopped.
Yeah.
Go
Lovely
through all the hop
bitterness.
ranges.
Yeah.
Lovely
I actually
bitterness.
had his mango, was it hidden mango milkshake one?
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
on a keg at the Steel
At the
City Beer
Beerful.
Festival. It's
Yeah.
delicious.
I've probably
Really
not had
enjoyed
many
it.
better. Some black IPAs I've had from them have been absolutely like Planet Caravan, and I think it's
Yeah, I
absolutely
think was that the
amazing.
most recent one?
Yeah, there was some other one there
great.
before, which is it was more like I think it was actually not like a one-off. It was more of a
It was a Sriracha one.
No, it was a normal one, but like a staple kind of black IPA. But that was about 5.5%, 6%. No, so that was absolutely beautiful. I think they did the rename Lusting for Stout to whatever their Tempest Stout, and I always thought that was a really good kind of late 4% stout. Yeah.
Josh also should be celebrated for being the main beer orderer for this year's Sheffield Beer Festival. I know it's a bit of a stressful job for him.
Heavily involved.
But he did the bulk of the cask and the keg, and I know Chris and Kate at Rutland helped a little bit, I think, on some of the keg, but saw him last week and he was relieved that it was all over and that things had been celebrated, so it's good.
So I suppose for any listeners who we do get them outside Sheffield, you have to come back in and find out. So I think you mentioned like Rutland is pretty much a guaranteed place with the Reet Pale, which I don't like. I think it's a rate pale, but I'm more of a rate than a Reet.
Definitely.
I don't know what you think of that, Sean.
Yeah, it's Reet. I always ask for Reet and they pull it me, so that's
but is it rate though? I can't think of it. I mean, it's a shame that some of the pubs that Pubco was kind of involved with, they've kind of ceased to exist now, but some have been taken over.
Close shop and that, wasn't it?
So unfortunately you don't see it as much because it's not got that kind of rounded kind of reach, I suppose, in Sheffield. But always, if you get any of their what's the one that they do with the it's on about version 30 odd now, the five hop is always a good
we've
one.
Just swapped a quad hop with them today as well. It's really good, and his beer's always on at the Kelham Island Tavern as well.
I'm thinking that
it's always in good nick there too.
There you go. So final beer, Sean.
Final beer. So a controversial brewery, is that fair, or a controversial owner? Perhaps controversial owner. So we've gone for another Yorkshire beer. We drifted into Nottinghamshire there, didn't we, for a spell with Welbeck, but still regarded as a local brewery, interestingly, as is Derbyshire breweries as well. Sheffield seems to embrace.
It's a nice postcode.
Is it? Yeah. So we've gone for the annual release of Samuel Smith's of Tadcaster Winter Welcome, and they do a yearly release of it. Comes out a touch earlier than Belgian Blue even, I think. So from October onwards, it's called Winter Welcome, so not necessarily identified as a Christmas beer. They have a different label each year. This one looks to have a couple of Coopers on the front, knocking out a new barrel for the beer, and is a 6% winter warmer. And again, I would on Christmas Day, when I've had my Christmas dinner at my mum and dad's, have a nice walk along the Transpennine trail back to Wath, where we currently live, and I always feel as if I need a warm-up just prior to going on that, and I think this type of beer would be, I suppose I could take some with me in a nip flask, couldn't I?
I've got whiskey in mine,
winter I've actually got sloe gin in it at the moment, so 6% winter warmer from Sam Smith's in Tadcaster.
I've just spotted the bottle size.
Yes, very interesting and unique.
550 millilitre bottle.
Oh, yeah. So all of their 500ml bottles are 550ml. All of their bottles, their oatmeal stout, their taddy porter, India ale, pale ale, chocolate stout, the wonderful chocolate stout.
I love that chocolate.
And the pure brew lager, all 550s, and they have a real gift appeal when you look at that there. A little bit bigger, a little bit of gold leaf around the neck of the bottle, and a gold top. They've got a real gift appeal. So Christmas particularly, they look extra special. You have a pour of that, Laura.
Thank you.
So controversial then.
Controversial owner, largely down to, I think, old-fashioned attitudes. And not necessarily connecting that effectively with their local community. I know they got a little bit bad press in relation to the bridge problem that they had at Tadcaster. Although the other bridge that was available was owned by Sam Smith's, and they allowed that to be used. But they do get some bad press and old-fashioned values, and a bit of a stickler of an owner, I believe.
Slightly
albeit I've never.
eccentric.
Yeah. I mean, you hear rumours, and certainly there are local examples of that, where the Brown Bear closes intermittently. The one at Grenoside.
The Uti-Bridge one.
Yeah, what's the
Travellers?
Yeah, Grenoside is the Cow and Calf.
Yes.
And the general rumours that you hear, and they form an urban truth, I suppose, when you hear them so many times, is that the owner and/or senior managers go in, and if they hear any swearing, they close the pub. They close the pub, which is a lot of bollocks, really. But they close the pub, and that's what you tend to hear. So you hear it so many times, it becomes true. But I don't know.
The one thing I heard, which is it's going back a while, and it's kind of weirdly like this weekend we went to Pedlar, so we nipped into Neepsend Tap, which is open for Pedlar weekend, and then went to the Sheffield Brewery company place.
Yeah.
And I had been back there since when I first joined Canberra, and it must be 10 years ago. And they had a social event there. And it was basically
At Sheffield Brewery.
Yep, like a new members social. So weirdly, we're like, looked a bit. It was a bit like kind of, it wasn't really obvious. Like you'll get a drink and you'll try it. So we decided to drive. One time we decided to drive. They did this big speech like, we'll give you some tours and stuff. So he goes, bar's open all night, so it's free all night. Have what you want. And we're like, what? So basically, like, there were free beer on all night. And we decided we were driving. But we got talking to this guy, and I think he were a publican for one at Sam Smith's pub. And this is kind of before Google was dead. You could find anything on it. And he was saying that like there was no real list of what Sam Smith's pubs were. You just had to know where they were. Now, like, it sounded a bit weird, but like, actually, like, they don't do any publicity.
No.
And it's almost like you have to just find one. I can remember my brother lived in London, and he said they used to go to one in Soho.
There's loads in
And they were
London.
like, and like,
the most northerly one in the UK.
Have you?
Yeah.
Is it just north of the Forth?
It's south of the Forth,
Is it?
actually. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember the name of the place. Cramond or something like that. I can't remember. But it's a great pub. Like they all are, quirky.
Yeah.
My favourite one's the one in York that always floods.
oh yeah, well,
Yeah,
so
King's-
it's on the riverside too.
King's Arms, King's
Was it
Head,
like-
King's
like-
Head. King's Head.
But they're all very kind of stripped back, and I mean,
Basic, yeah.
They're old
Bear's,
school,
I
yeah.
like it.
Yeah, they're always very clean and
Yeah.
very organised, but old school in the feel.
Brown Bear does attract kind of an interesting crowd.
Brown Bear is an
interesting
intriguing
crowd.
spot.
Yeah, it's not my favourite.
I wouldn't say anybody shouldn't go in it because we go in it.
It's nice from outside.
Brown Bear.
I always think you always have you kind of have this perception of what it's going to be like going in a Sam Smith's pub, and you always get met with the stereotype in the Brown Bear,
Yeah.
which I really enjoy. A pint in there, coincidentally, is now £2.04.
Is it?
So it's broken.
What's it, or
the
$1.29?
Yeah, it's broken the £2 barrier,
Has it?
which I think is
Okay.
a recent thing.
But the pure brew in there, and
Yeah.
they're saying it, lots
Pure
of.
brew organic lager,
So basically, it's saying is you
vegan
get-
beers,
from tap.
organic beers.
You probably get from tap cheaper than buying from you, shop.
Madeira. Yeah. We when we go down to London, last time we went, we'd booked this Sunday dinner. It was on the day that Barnsley got relegated, so my Sunday dinner was somewhat disrupted back in May. I still fit it though. And just on his way down, we just stumbled down this little snicket alleyway, and it was and there was a Sam Smith's pub there, and we walked in. Absolutely clean as a whistle, beautiful pub, 3 old sort of codgers, two male and 1 female in the corner, loving what they were doing, just having a sit. So me and Deb had a drink in there first, sat outside in the sunshine in a little alleyway outside. It was just phenomenal. And a bottle of India ale, it was just fantastic. I loved it.
I've never had cask in there.
No.
I've always avoided. You know in the pubs you go
I
in.
haven't actually.
No.
You know when you go in a pub and you
Old
think,
Mill
I
Bitter.
don't trust that that's used enough.
Yeah.
You know, I always find that there's that vibe in them kind of pubs, like I don't want
Yeah.
to drink in it, and it's going to be like sour or something. So I tend to.
They don't
go for,
have
like,
that
Taddy
much
lager
cask
or-
option. Yeah, a lot
Is it
of
Sovereign or
it.
something?
Yeah, Sovereign's on electric. In the old school, you'd say it's on electric, like Stone's on electric, and that's
I
on
like the
on keg.
Alpine lager.
Alpine
Yeah.
lager's nice and crisp.
Yeah.
Yes.
We used to
There you
drink
go.
that for under £2 in
What's the
Leeds
love
at the
for it?
Angel. It was brilliant.
What's the one on the front at Scarborough called? I'm being very stupid in not remembering this. No? There's one bang on the front over the harbour at Scarborough. If you go in the front room there, you get beautiful harbour brews
I don't
at
think I knew
Scarborough.
that.
I'll think of it in a second. I have one complaint, and it comes back to what you've just said. I would love to have chocolate stout on cask, and you can't get it, and I think that's such a terrible shame.
If anybody from Sam Smith is listening today,
apologies about the mention of controversial. It means you're young punks in a traditional beer world.
But my mate Pete, who comes in, he swears by their fruit beers. He thinks
they're cracking actually.
You think it's this dead traditional thing. Well, I suppose it's still quite traditional.
They're cherries.
They're very interesting. They're brewed in Lincolnshire by a little brewery called Melbourne Brothers, and all they do is brew beer for the fruit beers, and it then gets transported up to Tadcaster, blended with organic fruit juices, and there is your fruit beer. But they use a tiny. If you have a look at Melbourne Brothers online, tiny little, really old traditional little brewery, and looks spectacular, but it's tiny and it's just used by Sam's for that.
So going back to the beer then, this is a lot lighter than I expected.
Caramel sort of feel to it,
and there's some stone fruit in there.
It does have that kind of
boozy though. It tastes boozy.
it's got that hint of Worth's original that I really like.
like a toffee kind of.
a bit of toffee caramel feel to it. There is a bit of stone fruit as well.
Yeah.
I've said it, isn't there?
I think that's really good actually. It's
Big bottle, no?
I was
Big
expecting
boozy
something
trad.
a little bit more hearty.
yeah.
But I'm still
When you
enjoying
poured
it.
we both looked at each other going, oh, I think we both had that like
A little
that's
bit lighter.
Yeah.
You could
It's like-
almost
it's like
look at
an
that
amber ale, isn't it?
almost like sort of landlord type colour. The one at Scarborough on the front is the Golden Ball. I might add. Lovely views. So Sam Smith's thumbs up for that one.
I think so,
Yeah, I think it's good beer. It's well made.
Again, I'd love it on cask. As far as I'm aware, they only do the Old Brewery Bitter on cask.
Yeah.
I think you just generally get a better body, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Of beers
Better
like
mouth
that,
feel.
Yeah. And Gavin, if he listens to this, will be giggling to himself because I've got a real issue with the word mouthfeel.
You can get. I think none of these are bottle conditioned,
No.
and I think that's the key with it. Bottle conditioning gets that mouthfeel, I think.
Also, is this the first bottle exclusive Hopcast?
Possibly.
I think so, no.
We've had cans in a lot of them recently.
Yeah, we have.
I'm trying to think of the pictures and we're back to the what Sean sends through. I'm pretty sure that exclusive.
Christmas
We never had
beers in a
exclusive
can
can.
though. What
There we
Christmas
go.
beers in a can are there
But what,
up for offer?
okay, so let's strip it back. What constitutes a Christmas beer? I know. Sorry, bring you first.
Personally speaking, or based on what we've tasted
Just
today.
generally.
Personally.
Personally, yeah.
Well, as far as Christmas beers go, I don't like the gimmicky idea of doing a beer and sticking the name Christmas on it and then calling it a Christmas beer. If I want a beer that's going to be a Christmas beer and it's brewed for that time of year and for that celebratory season, I kind of want it to have like notes of pine or some red fruits in there. I want it to be rich and I want it to be luxurious. And some of these, like when we started with the Nailers, I mean that could be another beer at any time of the year.
Yeah.
But it's got a place for Christmas time drinking. But my personal thing is I'll tend to stay away from a Christmas branded product, apart from Cocoa and Wells, I absolutely love it.
It's interesting that none of these bottles have got the word Christmas on the front, certainly. So we can't accuse them of over indulgence. Perhaps the Belgian Blue Christmas hat and snow is the closest that we get to it. I like the Sam Smith's one because it's called Winter Welcome and suggests a longer season and a less Christmas focused beer. You can have that in November, you can
more
have
durable.
it in February and easy into March and April if it's snowing non-stop. What constitutes a Christmas beer?
What to you, personally?
Yeah, it would be chestnut in colour. It would taste quite bland, probably. But is that just our memories of Christmas beers gone by? Nowadays, I would have had Christmas beers seasonally, going back 10 years ago, perhaps. But nowadays, I'm a bit more like Hannah. I tend to be more suspicious of a Christmas beer, unless I'm very familiar with it, very familiar with the brewery. I'd go for a Delirium Noel, for example, or a Tongolo Christmas when you're in Belgium and that. I've got more confidence that they are brewed with real high quality and that season in mind, as opposed to, but that's the UK, isn't it? The UK is commercially driven around Christmas. That makes us suspicious of all things Christmas, where I think on the continent Christmas is a classier affair, and so that makes me less suspicious of them. Is that fair?
Yeah. I think for me it's something nice and warming, I'd say. So, like, hit the nail. There's so many amazing Belgian Christmas beers. Not to be confused with Bradfield Belgian Blue, which is in no way a Belgian style beer.
It's a cow. It is named after a cow.
Sammy Klaus is my ultimate Christmas beer. Is that
Austrian?
Austrian.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my absolute. That's just a really strong, a bit of boozy, quite potent sipping beer.
Yeah.
But then I'm kind of in two minds, because I think as well, a beer that I would drink at Christmas would either be, my personal choice would be something that I'm taking my time over, that's got those rich flavours that Hannah was mentioning, and maybe there'll be some nice festive adjuncts in there, depending on the beer. But then it's also a beer that I would drink around Christmas time would be probably something brownish that I could drink pints of with my dad in the pub.
That's it. Yeah.
So I think it's sort of a couple of different options.
The Christmas beers take us closer to our families than any other beers any time of year. They do, don't they?
I think what I consider a Christmas beer and what I want from a Christmas beer is different. I think I think kind of what I see as it is more like spiced dark beers where it's got sort of some sort of clove or like ginger or something.
Would you go as dark as stout? I don't feel
what I want from once it gets dark, I kind of see more of a winter thing. I don't really see it as a Christmas thing. I want something like it's a little bit like the Noel, something that's like it's got a nice kind of bitterness to it. It's nice, and you can sit and drink it. It's maybe 5% and under, and you can probably have 4 or 5 pints of it. Something nice and bitter and stouty. Maybe it's more like kind of coffee, chocolate, not really smoky or anything like that. So I don't think that's fine. Anyway, so we need to pick a beer of the night.
Beer of the night.
That's hard. I've got two in mind.
I can leave it to last if you want. And you can.
I've got one. Shall I go first?
Yeah, you go first. Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the Coco Noel because it was the main one that made me feel like Christmas.
I'm gonna agree with that. Be quick. I think it was the best one for me. The Welbeck.
Okay, my winner of the night is also the Welbeck Coco Noel, but I enjoyed Belgian Blue more than I imagined that I would. So that surprised me a little bit because it's over a year again since I've had one of those. So that has surprised me, and I probably would have the weaker one. I was hoping for more from the Winter Welcome.
Okay.
So Coco Noel, easy win.
So it's won already, but
I was afraid to say it because I thought people would think I was being biased.
What was your second then, Hannah? What was your? Was it the Winter Welcome?
Yeah, I was quite impressed with it actually. I've never had that one. Actually, the branding would put me off that.
They change the label
it's
every
heavily
year.
trad.
Yeah.
I love that it says 2018, 2019 on the label, and yet if you looked at that, you'd think, well, that's been on the shelf for years.
Ancient. I know a Cooper as well. Well, an ex-Cooper, so
there's your Christmas gift for your Cooper friend.
That, and it's the right strength for him too. So, but yeah, the Coco Noel for me.
So 4 out of 4, everyone for the
winner. Well done, Claire, and the team down at Welbeck Abbey.
So thanks for joining us. Thanks to.
Is that it? Well, this has been a good one. This
thanks
actually.
to Sean and Beer Central.
There's nothing else we can talk about.
Well, keep going.
More caps.
Thanks to Sean from Beer Central for supplying the beers. Thanks for Hannah for standing in for.
No worries.
And James is under pressure.
Is there any? Well, as you're here, is there anything that we need to know about next month or so for
Neepsend.
you? Neepsend.
We've got the
Well done for
final
coming second,
tap
by the
room.
way. You got silver,
Oh
didn't you,
yeah,
at
yeah, we
Sheffield?
got silver.
Yeah.
Beer of the festival.
Very good.
Thing. Yeah. Thank you. We've got our final tap room. We're reopening again in March, so the final tap room I think is around about the 1st of December. Whatever the first weekend of December is, we'll be open that Saturday. From 3, I'll be on the bar.
Because Kelham Island Victorian Christmas Market's on then.
Oh no! So yeah, I'm gonna get shafted again. Great.
I'm gonna come down. When I
good.
finish
Yeah,
with
do
that
come
market.
down.
You're
I
gonna
might
say you're
even
on
do
duty
some
then,
more
right?
cider as well. So yeah,
Awesome.
pop
So,
down.
I think you should get dressed up in
way, Sean.
like Laura will be
I'll be
on
dressed
their
as a
stall.
bona fide Victorian.
Laura can
Will
sort
you?
you out.
Yeah.
Some kit for working down the bar.
I'll get like beer spills on it and things. It'll look.
Is the
very
time in the brew schedule to do a Victorian bitter?
It's never gonna happen. Have you met Gavin? Yeah. If it's not stuffed full of hops, it can't be called a brown beer at all. At all.
So thanks Hannah, and James and I'll be back mid-month for the half pint.
Special thanks to
for Laura
Adam
for
tonight
standing up.
as well. I mean, listeners wouldn't necessarily know it, but he had a real frantic look on his face
Got some bloody computer
early
working.
on. Yeah, he couldn't get the microphone to work.
And we were all sat here saying useful things like, have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, off and on. In the end, worked. There was a shameful phone call to James while James was busy, which we should
We
apologise
flipped
for.
and flopped and C-bombed.
We got there in the
But
end.
we got there in Wi-Fi, data packages.
We'll need to reimburse Laura for about 25% of her data.
the whole lot went into it. So well done, Adam.
Yeah, and cheers for Laura for standing in for me on the half pint. Really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed listening to the last one actually. It was nice to have 2 episodes where I had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Just my little camper van. So we'll be back next month for
Christmas piss
pod
up.
crawl.
Can I come?
Yeah, Anna, come on. Come.
I might just meet you in various pubs.
I think.
Are we announcing the 4 destinations yet? Or?
No, because I don't think they're all finalised.
Okay, that's fine.
So we're going to.
I'm going to throw brown bear in there.
Well, we've officially got 4 pubs. It might go rogue, and we might end up in loads. And we're hoping to speak to some people on the way. So, Anna, if you're kicking around, you can accidentally bump into us halfway down.
Well, yeah, I could
No,
be
you
just
you
propping
no,
up
you
the
have
bar
a golden
somewhere.
ticket.
Golden
Anna.
ticket.
Golden
Anybody
ticket.
who's
You're on
on
it.
so Jim's invited as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
And the budget for the beer for the night comes out of the Hopcast
Budget.
funding. Brilliant
They're
stuff.
yes.
Is it a round each?
Yeah, around it. Yeah. So yeah, we're back in early December for the Christmas pod crawl. We're going to call it, and see you then. Cheers.
Good night.
Thank you.